Hi, welcome to Fertility Talks. I'm Mary Wong. I'm the founder of North America's leading wellness clinic. I'm the best-selling author to Pathways to Pregnancy, and your acupuncturist and fertility strategist. Today, we are talking about Spermageddon, why sperm quality is essential for reproduction. Super excited to be here. And I am thrilled to have Dr. Pojer, who's an MD, with us all the way from Austria. Thank you for being here and making the time.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited too.
Well, I'm totally excited. We were actually talking about doing this talk for probably over a year. I don't even know how long. Maybe it's been 2 years, for Pete's sakes. Actually, it probably is 2 years.
Yes.
We didn't go to the Integrative Fertility Symposium this past year. So it has to be 2 years, right?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we're talking about sperm, why sperm quality is essential for reproduction. And we're going to go into depths about this because we love sperm. And before we go into this topic, I just want to ask you, I find your, so I want to introduce you to our audience because you have such an interesting background, at least for North Americans. Right? Seldom do we see TCM practitioners that are also medical doctors, yet here you are. And so let me read your history, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your specific case. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. And so you are the president of the Austrian Society for Controlled Acupuncture and TCM, co-organizer of the International TCM Congress DAO in Graz, Austria, and lecturer at the Medical University of Graz. You teach, you lecture in many European countries. You are an international speaker on fertility and andrology topics, and you're also an author of the book called Secrets from the Chamber of Jade, Treatment of Erectile Dysfunction and Lack of Libido with Chinese Medicine. So really, this conversation goes beyond fertility. It's just about sperm and the vitality of a man, right?
Yeah, sure.
So tell us then about your transitioning or not transitioning, integrating Chinese medicine from Western medicine. When did that start? When did your interest become real for you? I would love for you to take us through that for a moment.
Well, Austria, that needs to be remarked before I tell my story, is one of the very few countries of the world where you really need to be an MD to be allowed to be an acupuncturist. Yeah, so beside Austria, there are only 5 or 6 countries where only MDs are allowed to do acupuncture. So Austria is one of them. So without me being an MD, I wouldn't even be an acupuncturist. So that wouldn't be possible. No.
That's a great thing. I mean, I don't know what the other countries are, but I think that's an amazing thing. And of course, you then take extra training for the acupuncture. It's not like just for a couple of months, right?
Yes, but still, we do not have that many hours of training as you do when you have your TCM education. So it's just topped on, and then you need to do advanced training if you really want to dig into TCM. Yeah.
Well, for sure you do, because I know your background. And you came to Canada when we had the Integrative Fertility Symposium.
Yeah,
so that's really great. Yeah, of course.
Well, so my story started because the med school of Graz offers a lecture called Introduction to Acupuncture. And that's what I signed up for. And my former president, who I inherited him now, so his position and this lecture where he got me keen on acupuncture. Yeah, so I signed up for that, and since then I was 19. Then I knew that I was going to have an integrative office or whatever I was going to do with medicine that needed to have two ACEs, the Western one and the Asian one. Yeah.
So then is it quite integrated in Austria? Is it prevalent, the use of
yes,
Chinese
in
medicine?
some departments. So, for example, in gynecology and especially in obstetrics, it's really, there are needles in every department in the hospital. So
Okay.
that is really, really integrated to do birth prep or acupuncture for labor pain. So that is really established. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can't see the comments from people. Because I don't know
Okay.
how. Hey guys, I'm sorry if I'm not responding to your comments because I'm like trying to swipe and it's not working. So if I'm ignoring you, I'm really not, because I just can't see anything. Anyway, so that's really fascinating. And I love that you have that capacity to really integrate that within the dynamics of your culture. And gosh, like it would be so awesome if it was like that in North America, but this will be our training ground for that then. So then let's go right into sperm. Like,
Yeah.
why is sperm quality important?
Well, because there's two to tango, as there is a very famous sentence, and that is really true. And that is something what we often forget. So the Western medical doctors and the reproductive endocrinologists, they do forget that. And we as TCM practitioners do forget that too. So it's not really on our focus that we should get both of the couple in. So everybody mainly focuses on the woman's health, right? And they forget a main part of embryo quality, means 50%. And we should really change that.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I can even think back culturally. So, for example, in the days of the emperor in China, right? Even when there was an actual true male factor, they still blamed it on the woman. They wouldn't even tell the emperor he had bad sperm. Yeah. It was like it was the woman's fault, and they'd have to find another concubine or something like that. And meanwhile, it's literally the male's problem. Right. Yeah. And carrying it forward to modern day, I don't see it change that much. And, you know, I apologize if this is not the case in your country, but I see it where, like, you know, there's male factor. A couple goes into a fertility clinic. There's a male factor going on, and that doctor will kind of absolve the responsibility of the man and say, it's okay, we'll just do IVF and you're done.
Yeah, that might be a cultural problem and a gender problem, but it might be a lack of solution for male factor from the Western medical point of view. You know what I mean? There's nothing else they could offer than doing ICSI, yeah,
right,
and give some supplements.
Right,
that's what all they can offer, and that's when we can come in, and we should really recommend us into the fertility treatment plan, even of the fertility centers, because we can offer a lot to them.
Yes. And so can you just go back and explain what ICSI is? So, okay, take us through from a Western perspective. There's a male factor. What do they have to offer them?
Okay. So if there's a male factor, and even the male factor even has to be discovered. Yes. So there needs to be a sperm test done, and that can be difficult, really. Can take months and years until there is a male checkup done by the medical doctors. And for many men, it's hard to have their sperm tested. So that is kind of some, well, thing going very deep into their understanding of being a man, I guess. Yeah. So I already have advised some of my patients to have that on a birthday present wish. So that's what yeah.
Meaning, like, before you even try to conceive, is that what you mean?
When they decide that I want to have a baby. Yeah, but it's sometimes really hard to get the man to the sperm test, and then sometimes because they often lack of ideas for a birthday present. That could be a good one.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that, but you're right. Like there's the male ego and virility. So to test it is like, oh, I don't know, and they may not say it out loud. And then I call it spitting in that cup. It's not that hard, but it can be a little demoralizing as well, right?
Of course, yeah. So, and if the male factor then is discovered, there are several options the men have to be treated. The most common one would be to go into IVF, and if sperm really is crap, they are doing an ICSI, which means that they are injecting once selected sperm into the egg to fertilize it. Yeah.
Yes, and I might have to add this. I was like surprised in the lab watching the ICSI being done. I thought, my gosh, it's just by sight. Right?
Yeah,
like you just look under the mic and say, oh, that one looks like it's swimming good. It's swimming in the right direction. It's going fast enough. It's got a nice little tail, and it's got a nice head and a body. But that's it. So it's like, wow, that's how you do that. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. And that's why, fortunately, when ICSI was introduced into the medical world, everybody thought that would be supreme to IVF, which isn't. So fortunately, lab tech is going back to doing IVF whenever it is possible, because there is some kind of selection by the egg, which is really important, and which is something we don't fully understand biochemically, what the process of the egg, or what the selection criteria of the egg for the perfect sperm would be. So IVF gives the egg some kind of selection opportunity, which ICSI doesn't. So to me, it is better whenever possible.
I love it. Thank you for addressing this. So basically, in a nutshell, when we're doing ICSI, there is no choice. It's literally the embryologist that is choosing for you, versus when you do IVF, there is a natural component, because you still have the sperm surrounding the egg, and the egg is still choosing, so to speak. And so there's still that bit of natural selection. Now let's go back a bit. What we know is this, and maybe you can give us the actual statistics. We know that the male sperm quality has been declining. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, there are several studies done and huge meta-analysis, and they are all saying that within the last 30 years, sperm quality has dropped by 50%, which is a lot. So if we really ride on that roller coaster for the next 30 years, we're going to distinguish manhood.
Right. And you know what's so great about, well, not great, actually it's not great at all, but it's interesting how then they lower the bar of what normalcy is. And I'm like, wait, that's not good, right?
Yeah. So the best example for that, that's always what is done. If something is not normal and can't be controlled by authorities, then they are lowering the standard values. Just like, you cannot buy, did you know that you cannot buy size S small condoms? They are not available because nobody wants to have to buy size S condoms, okay? So the range starts at size large, which is S, but it's just called different. And that's the same thing they're doing with the standard values for the sperm tests.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then it, again, keeps the male ego intact. No offense, Sandro. Sandro's here watching, so I know he's here.
Well, he's used to that.
He's used to that. Yeah, right. I love it. Okay. So then how are they testing the sperm?
They are doing a sperm test. So you just need to, men need to masturbate into a cup, and then it's all worked up, and then numbers are counted and shapes are measured, and yeah, and progressivity, motility is divided into several categories. Yeah, so there's a complete checkup on sperm at that moment done. Yeah,
Right.
What the problem is with the sperm test is that you can only, as you said before, have a look at what does it look like, does it swim, but there's no test in the standard evaluation that goes behind the scenes and tests the functionality. So we don't know if that good-looking sperm is even if it's possible for this sperm to fertilize an egg, because there are no sperm functional tests done.
And, you know, I think how we want to translate this as women watching this is that when you have an embryo, when you retrieve your egg and then the doctors attempt to fertilize the egg, when it doesn't fertilize, or, you know, on day 3 or day 5, you're like, oh my gosh, there's nothing left. Yeah. The woman automatically goes to self-blame. Sure. And like, oh, what did I do wrong, or what's wrong with me? Yeah. Versus also looking at the bigger picture and say, oh, perhaps that there's other pieces to the puzzle that I'm not thinking about, which includes, you know, who says that sperm that went into that egg was of good enough quality to make this embryo or to make it survive. Yeah.
You can't say that just by looking at a sperm test. It's just like, I always tell my patients, it's just, you know, if you meet a man, a good looking man, yeah, you never know if you undress him, if you like what you're seeing. So that's kind of, you know, you cannot have a look at sperm's DNA.
Yes, it's a very good point. And then the other piece to that is, even when you're testing in that moment, it's not even signifying, because it's literally a moment in time.
It's a moment, yeah. So if you let one man have a weekly checkup of his sperm test, that is changing dramatically within weeks.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even days, right? Like even depending on what's happening. Yeah. So like, you know, a guy gets a cold and has a fever for 24 hours, and then they test his sperm, and likely his sperm's not looking so good, right?
True. And it's a matter of arousal. Yeah. Arousal has a lot to do with sperm quality.
So, say more about that. I'm sure people would be very interested. Do tell.
Yeah, true. So that's something we as women can some kind of, you know, focus on, because the more men are aroused, the better the sperm quality gets. And what we need to know is that men are mainly visually aroused. So girls dress up, wear high heels and nothing, cook with heels. So all that stuff really works. Yeah.
And so I love that you say this, because people, when they're trying to conceive, and the longer they've been trying to do it, the more contrived it becomes.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a job, and then the man's stressed out. So really, how aroused is he? Sure, he can get the job done.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at quality, then the mood actually does have an impact.
Yes, it does.
So work on that. That's your bottom line here. So that's really great.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's go to, you know, that's the regular sperm test. How about the DNA fragmentation? What do you have to say about that? Well, first of all, what is it? And do you think it's defining about what a sperm quality is as well, or not?
Well, DNA, the DNA is in the head of every sperm, and that's the genetic material that needs to be brought into the egg, and the two then form the embryo. So that material, of course, has to be really, really of good quality to have an outcome of a very good embryo quality. And we can test that with special tests I think in the US you're better, because in Austria they are really hardly done.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that again is news to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but honestly though, like even with the DNA fragmentation test, again, it's a moment in time. So I've seen people's, it's not necessarily 100% reliable either, right?
Yes,
And
true. But it's definitely more than a normal sperm test. So
yes.
yeah, the recommendations that come from the ESHRE, from the European Society of Reproductive Medicine, they are quite similar to the ASRMs.
Okay.
And they say that a DNA fragmentation test should definitely be done when there are IVF failures or ICSI failures. If there are, and that's a good point, a lot of miscarriages in the past, because DNA fragmentation means crappy DNA material, broken one, yeah.
Yes.
Causes miscarriages, yeah,
Sure.
and early ones. So those when in the 8th to 14th week there is a miscarriage.
Sorry, from the 8th week to 14th week of miscarriage, so that's more male factor. Is that what you're saying?
It's more likely to be male factor. Yes.
Yeah. So I hope you guys heard that right, because here's the thing. Again, instead of self-blame, we got to look at the bigger picture. Okay.
Yes.
You know, we're the host, so it's easy to go straight to, oh, it's me, versus, oh gosh, there's just so many things, which including sperm.
Yeah, true.
Right. Okay. So we talked about how to arouse a man and create better sperm. But how about the other things that are more harmful for fathers to be? What should they avoid? How can we boost their sperm? I mean, those are two questions, really.
Okay. So fathers to be definitely have to cease smoking. That's a point.
Yes.
Yeah? If a couple comes in and the man doesn't want to cease smoking, I really ask myself whether I should continue my journey with them. Yeah. Because smoking is one of the main poisons for the DNA, and it also causes a lot of epigenetic changes. That means changes in the genome which are not transported via DNA. Yeah. So changes of the embryo that are not really genetic, but nevertheless passed on from the father. It's a little bit complicated, but that has a lot to do with lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah? So what he eats, what he drinks, alcohol should be avoided too. But the good news is that the dosage makes the poison. So men do not need to completely stop drinking. They just need to lower the number of beers or glasses of wine they have.
Okay.
Which seems to be more a European problem than a US problem.
No, it's not just a European problem, because here's the thing. So what do you tell a couple? Okay, so this is a scenario that happens a lot. So I'm not talking about the male factor, and that's there too. But what happens when the male sperm tests good? The woman is doing a lot of dietary lifestyle changes, and she feels horrible because she doesn't feel supported, because she watches her man do everything that he was doing normally, and she's doing her like nice diet. Yeah. And she just wants support. Like, what do you say to a man that is not changing his diet because his sperm looks good? Do you say anything to them?
Yes. I tell them that I don't, I'm not sure what I'm going to expect if I undress them and lay them on the acupuncture bed. Yeah, so that could be good or worse. And same is the example with the sperm's DNA. So we just don't know. And that's the least thing he can do in supporting his wife or his girlfriend in changing some of his lifestyle habits and not making it even more difficult for her to stay healthy and have a healthy diet and do sports, you should just join her. So the recommendations on diet for male and female fertility, they do not differ a lot. Yeah, so they should both eat the same things.
Thank you. Thank you. This is from a doctor, guys. Listen, and women, I know that most of your male partners are not watching this, so pull him, watch it again with him, because he needs to know, right? Like, even if your sperm parameters look good, well, again, the tests are done in that moment in time. So let's, like, level up. It's 2021. Let's level up. Even do it for a short time while you're trying to conceive, please. Okay, we beg of you.
Yeah, true. But we should point out that every lifestyle changes, diet, taking supplements, acupuncture, herbs, whatever needs to be done to boost sperm needs to be done at least 72 days prior to conception. So that's really important, because that long sperm takes to be developed properly.
Yes, exactly. So what you mean by that is that spermatogenesis, the development of a sperm from like a little germ cell to that sperm that comes out of its hole is 72 days, right?
It's approximately 72 days, yes. Yeah. So we should start everything we want to do to boost our sperm about roughly 2.5 months prior to when we want to conceive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not going to kill you guys. It's a moment in time. And if we can, I guess, coming from the point of view is, if you were trying to conceive, let's not have any regrets. Let's not cause any discourse between you and your partner, and just do it, right? And out of love and out of kindness, and out of support.
Yeah.
Right. So any other things to boost sperm?
Supplements, of course. I have to stand up for supplements. They are good. We are kind of over supplementing, but that's better than under supplementing.
Yes.
And definitely there is not so many vitamins or whatever in our food anymore. So we need to have an intake of those that are really essential for sperm production, such as zinc, for example, is really, really relevant for sperm production, or arginine, whatever. So there are good products on the market that have integrated all the essential ones. So that's one thing men can easily do. And take a few pills a day, starting again 2.5 months prior to the wanted conception. Mm-hmm. The females, the mothers to be, they have an intake of supplements too. Of course, they take folate and whatever they have for an intake. I don't know what the products are called here in the US, but we have certain products that every woman starts taking as soon as she decided to have a baby. Yes. And the same should be with men. It's not really difficult.
No, agreed. And when I mean, it's been a long time since we've gone through the process, but when we were trying to conceive, I had my husband start the male prenatal. And so when he started, though, right, because he had went from not taking anything to taking that, and he noticed energy enhancement in overall. So really, unfortunately, in our society, I think we are often lacking in supplementation because the quality of our food has gone down nutritionally, right? Everything is shipped across the world. So it's not ripened off the tree directly. So it's not soaking up all the nutrition from the soil. It's ripened in a truck, on a plane, on a boat, right? Yeah. So how much are we getting now? So that's why I went from the non-supplement believer to now definitely a supplement supporter, for sure, hands down.
Yeah, me too.
Over the years. And so you mentioned, I'm kind of going back now, and we got to close up, but you talked about smoking. So, and I would like to bring light to, when we're talking about smoking, it's not just cigarette smoking, but in Canada, it's legal now to have marijuana.
Yeah, I know. So it's pot smoking too.
Yeah.
Yes. That definitely harms. The research mainly says it's harmful. Yeah. There's not so much data out on the epigenetic impact, which certainly will be with pot. Yeah.
Yes, I agreed. I think that it's just lack of research, period.
It's just lack of
don't have the data for it, right? And I was listening to at the Canadian Fertility Andrology Society meeting last year, he was a chemist, and he's talking about marijuana, and he says it's really hard to study because now there are so many fancy strains of marijuana.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So it's like, oh my gosh, like you don't even know what you're getting because they have like, I've never gone to these shops, but apparently you can like go to the shops and get different kinds of marijuana for different kinds of high. So I'm like, whoa. So then they don't know the impact of the marijuana because there's so many different strains. But the verdict would be that yes, it will have a negative consequence, and especially in the amount that you would have. And so they're just saying avoid it altogether when you're trying to conceive.
Definitely, yes.
Right. Yeah. How about other things that we need to avoid for fathers to be?
Well, for men, maybe we should point out that too much sports does not really help with sperm quality. Yeah. From our TCM perspective, we might understand that a little bit better because you have a certain amount of 100% of energy. Yeah. And it's your choice where you want this energy to work. Yeah. So if you run a marathon, you want that energy to go into your muscles, to make you run faster. Yeah. But then your genitals lack of energy for the spermatogenesis. Okay. So you just need to remember that. Yeah. So those 2.5 months prior to conception, running or training for a marathon definitely harms sperm. Yeah, we know from the normal sperm tests that the quality is down to 50% after running a marathon or training for it. That's reversible, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So then how about a person who's running like 5K, like a regular Joe?
Yeah.
Right. 5 kilometers or, regular exercise. What do you think of that?
So regular exercise is good. Yeah. But it should stay in a healthy amount. Yeah. So about half an hour, 3 to 5 times a week is fine.
Right.
But more studies say could then be not really harmful, but not helpful for the spermatogenesis.
Right. So if we're looking to optimize, it's probably just not the best choice to then train for a marathon while you're trying to conceive, even for a man. So I think that's a really good point, because again, we focus more on the women, and that conversation does not get had, right? So if you want more information, I actually do have it in my book, Pathways to Pregnancy. I have a whole chapter on male factor. And then I'm assuming your book, is it for lay people to read as well, or is it more for practitioners? My
book is in German, unfortunately.
Okay, it's in German. Never mind, everyone.
In German. And maybe it will be translated one day.
Yes.
But I'm just writing on a book for practitioners on male fertility and integrative aspects. So that will be out in 2022.
That's great. Well, thank you. But we'll have to keep sharing and, also share to the public as well. And
yes,
of course,
that's really important, because they are the ones that need the advices and they need to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. If people have questions, would they be able to DM you on Instagram or Facebook, or are we leaving that alone?
Yes, on Facebook is fine. Yes.
On Facebook? Okay. So we'll put it in the show notes. So Olivia, oh, wait a minute. Is your Facebook account Pojer now? Like, did you change it, or is it? Because
no, it's still the one. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what to say about that, but we'll put up your contact information, and if they
Yeah.
want to get in touch with you directly, they can.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
otherwise, you can pick up Pathways to Pregnancy. And now there's an Audible version, so you can totally go to Audible. And by the way, if you have like a monthly account, you can use your credit, so it's like free. And if you don't even have Audible account, you can go on, sign up, and get a free first book. We love freebies. So you can get Pathways to Pregnancy, which I was told is basically the chicken soup for the fertility or pregnancy soul. So I love that. And so check that out. And otherwise, you can buy it old school on Amazon or Indigo Chapters. And again, it's called Pathways to Pregnancy, which was touted as a bestseller. So thanks, guys, for joining us. And you can make comments or, oh, he wrote it down already. So Sandro has shared your Facebook name so that people can contact you directly. Thank you, Sandro.
Thank you.
You're awesome. And we'll have to have Sandro back too, because he's all about PCOS. So that's another topic. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.